I am so glad to receive this latest firmware update on the THETA Z1 that remarks 2.10.3 that solve some long-term issues in the firmware that finally make this DualFisheye RAW plugin much more powerful than ever before. I'm gonna take you through a quick tour guide on the latest DualFisheye RAW plugin as well as the latest DualFisheye RAW Remote control app on my Android phone. You're gonna learn a lot about this plugin and you're gonna be surprised at its maximum potential in imaging quality. Although this DualFisheye RAW plugin is already a killer feature for the Z1. We can long press the mode button, and I highly recommend you always place the DualFisheye RAW plugin as the first plugin in the plugin settings menu, and short press the shutter button. Now we are in this DualFisheye RAW plugin. The first major update on this DualFisheye RAW plugin is that it will open the Wi-Fi automatically for us, so you can connect with this plugin with Z1 with your phone. A blinking Wi-Fi indication that you know that you can find the THETA Z1 hotspot, and you can use this remote control app to Wi-Fi connect with the camera itself, and then you unlock all its the features, the settings that you can change on your phone, on your app. You have many more options compared with this user interface on this small OLED touchscreen. On this, you have a lot more options compared with the OLED screen user interface. So now let's take a look at. If you see that, you can short press the Wi-Fi button, you can change the shooting numbers. I always set to HDR-DNG by default. It will always give me the best possible imaging quality. So you can change this capture number from 3, 5, 7, or 9. And if you long press this Wi-Fi button, long press, now you enable a 10-second countdown timer for this shooting mode. That is to say, you can press the shutter button and you can walk around, move away to be invisible in the final shot. But now with the app, it's a lot easier than ever before. Actually, you can change the bracket settings. The bracket, the burst capture, HDR-DNG, because the DualFisheye RAW only captures in RAW DNG format, so now you don't have to capture a single DNG shot. So let's take a look at the bracket shot. In the bracket shot, you can see now we capture 9 shots with 1 EV as the basic step. But if you press, you can see you can change the bracket number 3, 5, 7, or 9. If you long press, you can disable timer and long press again to bring it back. And F1 button, do you see that? Now you see a new options. Now you can set the EV value, the EV step from 1 EV, 2 EV to 3 EV. If you ever press at 3 EV with 9 shot in bracket, that is to say you can capture minus 12 EV all the way up to plus 12 EV. That's a huge dynamic range that you can literally use for HDRI user interface use cases. If you press the mode button again, now in the burst capture mode. All the shots, 9 shots in the burst capture mode is the fastest shooting speed at around 30 frames per second. But once we get connected with the app, we can unlock even more options. So coming next, let's take a look at this DualFisheye RAW Remote Control app, and I highly recommend you purchase the app and to unlock all the features, its capabilities behind this application. Okay, coming next, I will share with you this DualFisheye RAW Remote Control app. But first thing first, you have to Wi-Fi connect with your THETA Z1. Once you have already entered this DualFisheye RAW plugin, as you can see, there's a Wi-Fi icon. Once it stops blinking, that is to say, you are now already Wi-Fi connect with your Z1. For Z1, if you ever forgot this Wi-Fi password, that is the last 8 numbers of your Wi-Fi hotspot. And this is a brand new DualFisheye RAW Plugin remote control app. This icon looks quite similar with the DualFisheye plugin. So, as you can see, the icon on the right is the DualFisheye plugin remote control, and the left one is the DualFisheye RAW plugin. And compared with the DualFisheye plugin, you can see the background now has some texture, and usually HDR has obviously changed this Wi-Fi icon on the top left. In this remote control app, here's some major improvement compared with the DualFisheye plugin. Okay, so first you can see you can disable the plugin remotely. You can disable the plugin, and now you can see I have already exited into the plugin menu. And you can revoke. You can awake this plugin by this app. Press this on/off button. Now we are entering the DualFisheye RAW plugin back again. So if you ever want to switch back and forth in between the THETA official app and the DualFisheye RAW plugin, this on/off button is really useful for us. You see that? Now we have exit plugin, and we press this button again, and we immediately get back to the DualFisheye RAW plugin. So this is actually a shortcut. It's actually a shortcut to directly launch the DualFisheye RAW plugin in your camera, in the Z1. This is definitely great, and this is a similar experience with the DualFisheye plugin. And with the shooting mode, now you can see we have unlocked a lot more options. So first thing first, with the bracket shooting, we can now set the aperture manually. With on the camera itself, we are not able to change the aperture value anymore because I always use the wireless aperture f2.1. But with the app, now we can select two different aperture, 2.1, 3.5, and 5.6. As far as I know, the THETA Z1 could deliver the best imaging quality at f3.5. So if possible, always leave the aperture at 3.5. And in this bracket shooting, we can set EV offset. This is the EV offset and EV step 1, 2, 3. Well, you can set the EV offset that you say with the base image. Normally speaking, it is the EV0 image, but we can now offset the EV value to -1, -2, -3, and -4. For example, if we set the EV offset as the -4 and the EV step as 3, should count to 3 photos. So the first image gonna be captured at EV -4, and the second one gonna be captured at EV -7, while the third one will be captured at EV -1. So with changing the offset of EV value, you can have a better control for your content scenarios. You can see your GPS location, and you can see the minimum export time all the way up to the maximum export time. And with the latest firmware, latest RAW plugin, the DualFisheye RAW plugin has exceeded the half-second exporter limit. Now you can actually capture these images as long as the 16 seconds in a single shot. And with the minimum and max export time, you can have evaluation on your total time cost. It's usually around double the longest export time. And let's take a look at the burst capture mode. In the burst capture mode, now we have unlocked this EV offset that is the same with the bracket shooting, but now with the burst capture, we can also manually set the aperture and set the EV offset from 0 all the way down to -4. And the maximum shoot count is 9 shot in bracket, 9 shot in burst. The THETA Z1 going to capture 9 shot in the burst with 1/10 second. And one of my favorite HDR-DNG. Now we can disable and enable the motion detection. With the motion detection turned on, you can make some motion compensation that use something like the deghosting effect. Use the THETA Z1, the HDR-DNG will get rid of the ghost as much as possible. You save you a lot of time, efforts in the post-process workflow. And now we can capture at the change aperture. So for me, sometimes I will always place as f3.5 to get the best possible imaging quality. For Z1, the f3.5 will deliver the best quality. Yeah, that is a small trick behind the THETA Z1. Now let's take a capture and take a closer look at the Z1 in this OLED screen. Press shutter button, and you can see when Z1 has first give you a beep sound that you say Z1 is not performing the exposure criteria to mirror the mirroring the exposure time, and a second blinking, second beeping, the Z1 gonna capture all the shot with the BURSR capture API, and you can see now Z1 is stacking and merge all these images, and after all this stacking and merge, it will update the database and finally save this 16-bit float HDR-DNG in your internal memory. And once it haven't done it, you can see there is an icon circling around at this DualFisheye RAW Remote. So they have now should finish. I got a notification and your job has been done. And with the status, as you can see, there's all the way around 21 gigabyte internal memory. It is a little bit larger compared with the 19 gigabytes internal memory for the Z1. Yeah, and that is a brief recap on this brand new DualFisheye RAW Remote as well as the DualFisheye RAW Plugin. That is by far the biggest update on the DualFisheye RAW and the biggest update on the THETA Z1 as well. I do hope that the Revoke could catch up with the latest Revoke THETA app to finally bring this auto exposure bracket to our users. So we're gonna enjoy this HDR shooting method natively with the Z1 as quickly as possible. So far so good. This is a brief recap on this video talking about this latest DualFisheye RAW plugin and the DualFisheye RAW Remote Control app. So if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to thumb up, subscribe, and hit notification bell. Once again, I want to shout out for the Yoshi Hirota for make some quick update along with this official firmware upgrade. And cheers to Rico and salute to Yoshi Hirota's contribution to our industry. And I hope that you can purchase the app yourself and unlock all the settings, possibilities with the DualFisheye RAW, the plugin. So stay safe. See you next time. Bye.